Welcome to the So Much More podcast, where we talk with people in the custom window treatment, soft home furnishings industry, and so much more. I'm your host, Ciel DeGuglielmo. My guest on the podcast today is Devin Ryan. She is the heart and hands behind Redeemed Relic Upholstery, where she transforms well-loved furniture into beautiful, meaningful pieces with new life. After earning a degree in communication and a master's in education, Devin spent years teaching, a career she loved, until multiple sclerosis forced her to step away from the classroom. What began as a creative outlet during that transition turned into a passion and a purpose, leading her to build Redeemed Relic into the heart-driven small business it is today. Through her work, Devin brings stories, craftsmanship, and second chances together, and she loves inspiring others to see the beauty in what's already there. I love how Devin has created some very special rituals and some very special practices in how she restores furniture, and how she's been willing to take on some really difficult challenges, saying yes to projects that she wasn't sure about, and reaching out to the community to learn more about what she needed to know. It was really a pleasure talking with Devin today, and I hope you enjoy this podcast. Devin, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate this. This is really an honor to talk to you.
Well, I'm honored that you said yes, and I have to admit, I don't normally ask people in person. I usually shoot them an email, that way if they want to say no, but I kind of cornered you at the Custom Workroom Conference and say, hey, you've been on my list for a little while. Will you say yes? And you were so gracious. So thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
So for anyone who doesn't know you, tell us, introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about who you are, where you are in the world, and a little bit about your business.
Okay, I'm Devin Ryan. I am in Milford, Ohio, which is the Cincinnati area. My business is called Redeemed Relic Upholstery. And let's see, I live with my husband and 3 kids all together, and all of our fur babies. We're avid rescuers and fosters, and that if I wasn't doing what I'm doing with upholstery, I would probably be working with animals.
Okay.
Also, my sister, Audrey Campbell, is the one who kind of introduced me to this world, and her business is Boxwood and Ivy. I know that you interviewed her a few years ago, maybe?
Yeah, I think this might be the first sister team, not that you work together, but who both have businesses in this industry. I'm pretty sure this is a first.
Oh, that's cool. That's really cool to hear.
So are you and Audrey close physically? Do you live near each other?
Yeah, actually, we live about 10 minutes from one another. So
nice.
We're really close. My daughter and her oldest son go to high school together.
Okay.
It's, our parents live also within 10 minutes of us. So Audrey had moved away for a while. She lived in Alabama for, I think, 10 years, but she ended up moving back when they had their kids. So it's really cool to have everybody within proximity.
Oh, that is nice. All right. So tell us a little bit about how you got started in this business, and a little bit about what your specific business is.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. So I got started 2020 when the pandemic happened. I had my first chair to tear apart. It's sitting in the garage waiting on me. And I remember when that happened, I was teaching part-time. I've had I feel like a random assortment of careers, but I was teaching just part-time. And when the pandemic happened, it was like my opportunity to start tearing that chair apart because I had nothing else to do. My part-time job was tutoring, kids who are needing a little help, a little extra support in school, young kids in reading. And so they didn't need the part-time teachers when they went to online school. So essentially I was laid off when that happened, and I tore into my chair and started looking for education. And I'm embarrassed to say I never put that chair back together, but I did learn something about I did learn something about how a wingback is made. But yeah, so I feel like I'm rabbit trailing here. So I looked for school for education in upholstery, and that's when I stumbled into Funky Little Chair, and Cynthia Bleskocek and Michelle Minner ended up being my teacher, and that was such a great program. Being in a cohort and working together, it really was a great way to start learning.
Okay. And so I know for someone who shows up at the Custom Workroom Conference, learning has to be important to you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm curious about, for upholsterers, I feel especially, the ability to do things in a hands-on environment is, there are things you can tell people and there are things you can show people. But I mean, I think specifically about like relief cuts. They're terrifying to make.
They're still terrifying to me.
Yes. And unless there's somebody there who's kind of like, really, it's okay. You can do this. You can do this. So have you done any online classes?
It's been mostly online.
Okay.
So that I did that cohort through Funky Little Chair. You know, I never got to go up there. So it was online. We would do a tutorial, and then, you know, they showed us ahead of time what kind of project we needed to get while we were working on that week.
Okay.
And we would meet on the given night and show each other, you know, through a Zoom video, what we had done, ask questions. I'm still in contact with some of the women who did that class together. And it was over 10 weeks, I think.
Okay.
And I still have my pieces, you know, they're kind of my samples of what we did.
Okay.
You know, YouTube searches, this and that. I somehow found Lindsay Orwig through that process, and she's been super helpful. I say that I was her upholstery stalker, or that she was my upholstery crush, because I loved what she was doing, and I found out that she has MS, which I talked to her about, you know, if that was okay to talk about, and I have MS too. And so when I found that out, that was really inspiring to me, like knowing she could do this job. And if she can do it, I can do it, you know, and it was just kind of showing me it was possible when, you know, I had to leave my full-time teaching job because of my MS. So just to know that didn't disqualify me was really motivating to me. And she and I have since become friends, and it's, you know, God works in mysterious ways. How I had to move on from that career where I thought I would be until retirement, and then wound up doing this, and have made some great friends out of it. But she's helped me learn as well.
Devin, for anyone who is not familiar with how MS affects people, and I know it affects people differently, but how has it affected you physically? And you said you wanted to make sure it didn't disqualify you, and I'm sure there are people who don't understand what that would mean for someone. Yeah. If you could clarify that a little bit.
Yeah, it's so hard to describe because it can show up in any amount of ways. So essentially MS is kind of your body is attacking. It's an autoimmune disease because your body's attacking itself, but it's also neurological. So it's attacking the myelin sheath that covers your nerves, either in your brain or in your spinal column. And depending on where you have, they call them plaques, depending on where those are showing up is where your disability occurs. So if it's in your spinal column, you could be more physically disabled, like arms or legs. If it's in your brain, it's more cognitive. So, and it depends on where it's at in your brain. You know, it could attack the part of your brain that helps your tongue help your swallowing. Like it could be, but for me, yeah, it's just where it shows up, you know, and that's a lot of area, right? So for me, it's cognitive, it's in executive functioning, in like organizing tasks, coming up with correct vocabulary, which is one of the reasons I struggled in school with my little kids. Is it's hard to teach third graders if you can't remember the word, you know? And in terms of like visually, it affected me. If a lot of things are moving in my peripheral vision, I get dizzy. And so little kids don't sit still, obviously. And so I would get dizzy just by the kids being kids, and so
Right.
it stressed me out because I was trying so hard to control myself.
Hmm.
And it just, between the actual demands of the job and me putting demands on myself of trying to hold it together, it was way too much. Yeah, so that was, but I was diagnosed in 2012 and I didn't quit until 2018. So, I
Wow.
mean, I lasted a good long time with it.
Yeah.
And to be honest, since I left the classroom, a lot of my executive functioning has gotten better because
Okay.
I don't have that outside stressor around me all the time.
Right. And you're
Um,
not focusing on trying to keep it together for long periods of time like you were when you were at work.
exactly.
It
Yeah.
it reminds me of that that adage of, when you pick your kids up from preschool or nursery school and the teacher tells you how wonderful they've been, they get in the car and have a complete and total meltdown. And any good pediatrician is going to tell you, oh, it's because they trust you and they've worked so hard to keep it together in the classroom that by the time they get in the car, they're done. And
Yeah.
I think that what you have described to me is what someone I know has described to me. It's that same needing the energy to keep yourself focused in how it affects you is
Mhm.
just exhausting.
Yeah. Oh, totally. And MS
Okay.
itself is exhausting. So it can cause such fatigue that
Mhm.
there's no amount of rest that makes you better. It's just a fatigue that you can't do anything until it almost dissipates on its own. And
Oh, how frustrating.
it is very frustrating, especially for a doer, like
Yeah.
I come from a hands-on family, and to not be able to do things is extremely frustrating.
I can't imagine. I'm listening to you and you're smiling while you're saying it. And I'm thinking, oh, that would really be a challenge for me to just say to myself, this is not your time to do this. You just can't do anything right now.
Right. Well, and that's one benefit I would say of the workroom is, and that's something Audrey actually brought. I say she pulled me into this because she brought it to my attention when she knew I was struggling in school. She said, if you ever decide you want to leave that, I think you would be good at upholstery. And she said, people are always asking me to do upholstery and I don't have time to learn something else. And she said,
Mhm.
I don't want to do that. But you would be good at it. And, if you would learn it, I think you would have plenty of business. And she was right. I mean, it ended up being great. As an aside, when I was in junior high school, my mom worked for an upholsterer who was,
Really?
yeah, a woman up the street in their neighborhood where they still live. And this lady still lives there too. And this is a funny story because when I would get off the bus coming walking down the street from junior high school, I would pop into this lady's basement and say hi to my mom. And this lady's name was Vera. And, just stay there for 5 minutes and talk to them and then go on home. And turns out years down the line, my sister started her workroom a long time ago. She bought a couple of Vera's old machines when Vera retired.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but she had no need for her walking foot machine because Audrey already had one. So when I started, Vera was ready to part with her walking foot machine, and I have her machine. I use it every day.
Oh,
Isn't
that's
that
so
cool?
awesome. I
I know,
love
I love it.
that. Like,
And
just totally a full circle moment.
yeah, yeah. And it's fun. And my mom will come in on, here and there and help pull staples out of chairs or whatever. And I
Okay.
have to, of course, I'm like, don't hurt yourself. I don't want you to cut yourself. And she's like, Devin, I was doing this when you were 10 years old. Like, so it's funny, but I also, watch out for my mom.
Yeah, of course. Of course. Was your mom ever interested in making her own business or creating her own business? Or is she happy working for someone else?
Yeah, I think she was just happy working for someone else for something to do,
Yeah.
because we were off in school and she needed something else to do.
Okay.
But I don't think she ever had any desire to make her own business.
Okay. So you've started some education, started with a project that you never finished, which welcome to the club.
Yep.
How did you start to get customers? And you mentioned you're out of your house right now, but
Mhm.
did you start in your house and what was that like?
Oh, yeah. I've started in my house and that was 2 houses ago. So working in the basement, it really just getting customers was kind of just telling some people what I was doing and
Mhm.
people being willing to take a chance on me. I don't know that I would have taken a chance on me because but they did. And actually, the very first piece I did was a bench, and a lady who I know from dog rescue, she was a photographer, and she would always have the coolest sets to take photos of these animals to put
Mhm.
them up for adoption for the organization. And so I did a bench. It was like a nice fancy like rolled end bench.
Right.
So it was simple in the fact that it was a bench, but going over those rolls at the ends,
Yeah.
that was a learning experience. And, she said, it's for the dogs. If you mess up, I won't photograph that part.
Okay.
Anyway, that was my first project. And she took a chance on me, just kind of word of mouth. I still haven't marketed at all. I mean,
Okay.
just people hear about it and I have a wait list. So, I mean,
Right.
I think it's just there's so few of us that,
Yeah.
that works out really well.
Okay. I love that the first project you did was a combination of the two things you're most passionate about,
Yes.
upholstery and rescuing dogs. That
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
amazing.
I know that's the one picture I think it is on my Instagram of a dog on a bench, and it looks almost like it doesn't fit in, but that's why that project was that simple bench with the dog on it. That was her doing her photography. So,
Okay. All right. So I'm curious, Devin, because there are challenges enough when you are an entrepreneur. There are
mhm,
challenges enough when you are learning a skill that you are also then being paid to do. Now you add in a chronic illness
oh
that
yeah,
affects your ability to perform.
right,
And yet you've grown your business.
yeah,
You've grown your business enough to move it out of the house.
right, yeah.
So what are some of the biggest challenges that you've had, whether they're related to having MS or not? What are some of the biggest challenges you've encountered?
Well, the simplest one would just be moving furniture up and down stairs and in and out of a basement,
Okay.
because I didn't have a walkout basement. But bigger challenges, I mean, we're focusing on the career, but I mean, aside from that, my husband's on the autism spectrum. We also spent 4 years separated. We just got back together in July.
Okay.
So there has been a lot of challenges. But at the same time, I always have people who need me. And I think that's the one thing this has in common with teaching is when I feel like people need me, it really makes me motivated to, do what I need to do to get back to those people.
Okay.
And so if it means like for the MS, like that I need to rest, I need to put my feet up, I need to eat better food. Like go to my doctor's appointments. I get a medical infusion every 6 months, or not
Mm,
6 months, sorry, 6 weeks, to make those things a priority so that I can get back to what it is I need to be doing. So it's like
okay.
challenges. I've always seen things as like, when you're given bad news. I remember when I got my diagnosis, telling the doctor, okay. And he's like, oh, it's not okay. And I was like, I wasn't saying okay like it's okay. It's not okay. This sucks.
Yeah.
But okay, as in like, I'm taking it in. I'm going to figure it out.
Right.
And that's kind of the attitude we all have to have, right? Even with upholstery, like, I'll figure it out.
Right.
It's what else are you going to do? Like you're going to figure it out.
Well, you say that, Devin, but I have found in interviewing people, especially in our industries, when I first started, I asked people if I thought they were resilient.
Mhm.
And then I realized that was not the right question. I wanted to know how people were resilient because as entrepreneurs, we were in fact already resilient. It
Right.
wasn't, whether we developed it or it was something that was already part of us. But I feel like you you have an added challenge to overcome
Yeah.
when you have a chronic illness. And I'm always being reminded, you don't know what's going on in other people's lives. And, you see what's on Instagram, you see what's on Facebook, and you don't know that they're dealing with a chronic illness, or you don't know that they're separated from their husband, and you don't know that one of their kids is going through a struggle that, wakes them up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and you're going, how am I going to help this kid? So, or all three at the same time. Like we just don't know what other people are going through. But yet, as you said, it's being able to show up the next day and still do what you need to do. But everyone doesn't do that.
Yeah,
There
I
are
guess.
people who pull the covers over their head and go, yep, not getting out of bed today. And I don't mean because I'm resting. I mean because I'm not facing these challenges today. And I think that's one of the things that sets entrepreneurs apart from people who are not willing to run their own businesses. And that's not a judgment call. It's not for everybody. But I do think that resiliency is one of the key factors.
For sure. I mean, you have to be able to come back, even if you do need a day to pull the covers over your head. Like,
right.
Okay, I'll give myself that time. Or
right.
if I'm struggling like with a project with relief cuts, like you were saying, those are the hardest. I'm looking at a chair right now where I messed up yesterday, and that's also why you order extra fabric. But it's like when there's a challenge like that, just walking away, just like, okay, I can walk away, take a breath and regroup. And I think that's the being resilient part is like to have what do I do when I'm just at the end of my rope? I walk away, or maybe I go home, and come back the next day. Because I found like, even when I'm struggling with words, which still does happen time to time, if I go to sleep and wake up, it usually comes to me. It might, maybe the conversation has passed and the moment has passed, but still it makes me feel better that it came to me. And and I try to like give myself some kind of memory trick to remember that word, because it's like doing those kind of proactive things, like I feel like helps my brain be stronger.
Okay. So usually when we're talking about challenges, people come up with everything on the scale, from just the day-to-day challenges to big ones like having MS and things like that. Have you ever thought about quitting?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I feel like even if it's on a minor scale, I've thought about quitting when I realized like how little money I'm actually making. And I've worked really hard, and I feel like I've grown my skills significantly, but my business side isn't as strong.
Okay.
And so that's why, like this year at CWC, I think I only took one upholstery class. The rest were business. Because I know that's where I need to grow. Yeah, I wanted to do upholstery ones. Believe me, I'd much rather be doing that. But I know what I need, and that's to get stronger in business. So
good for you. That's awesome.
Yeah, like I know what I need to, when I want to quit, what I need to do is educate myself, so it's like, I try to lean toward that than lean toward giving up.
Okay. All right. So I'm curious about the teaching, because as someone who started out as an educator, now you've taken a lot of courses. Do you think about teaching upholstery methods to other people?
Yeah, that's interesting you said that. So yes, this past weekend, in fact, I had my first adult student. And the funny thing is I didn't advertise that. This woman reached out to me and said, I'd like to recover this. She said stool. So in my mind, I'm thinking like, bar stool. Simple. That'll take us, an hour if we go slow, Then she sent me a photo. It was an ottoman. It was not a stool.
Oh,
Oh yeah, that's a different thing. So it was interesting. We've spent two weekends. We just do 2 hours at a time. And it's been really fun to teach someone. And she was already a handy, lady anyway. She has her own tools, but not upholstery tools. She thought that ironically, my can of spray adhesive was really interesting. Like, I mean, I thought she was
Okay.
more impressed with the pneumatic stapler. Yeah, but it was spray adhesive. She's like, I love the way it comes out in this fan, like she really liked that. And I also teach kids hand sewing. And I was
Okay.
inspired by Emily Marshall. I met
Yes.
her at maybe the first CWC that I went to, first or second. And we just ended up in, it's how you meet people there, like in the buffet line, and
Yeah.
started talking. And she was telling me about what she did at her kids' school. And I thought, that is ideal for me. I get to be
Right.
with kids, and that really fills my bucket to spend time with little kids,
Okay.
and to do we make stuffies, we have little, it's all felt, nothing that
Yeah.
frays. And I teach them basic stitches, and they make little stuffed animals, and
What a sense of accomplishment for them.
yes, they're so excited when they go home with their little
What
stuffies.
age are you teaching?
I do between second and fifth grade.
Okay. So a
So
little calmer and not necessarily running around as much. Okay.
right. I had gone as young as, first before, and they're not ready for, even to sit there for an hour and do that.
Okay.
But then once you get going with them, they don't want to leave at the end of time. Like, if they're not finished with that week's project and they need to wait for the next week, they want to stick around and finish it, because like you said, they want to be accomplished. They want to take it home and show their parents,
Okay.
and they're really cool. It's really fun.
That's adorable. And they're still in that cute phase.
Yes. They still think that you're cool too,
Yes.
Oh.
So I am curious about this, having just been at the Custom Workroom Conference and being a teacher. Are there ever times that you're in a class, because we're all so generous with our knowledge, and a lot of the teachers are not professional teachers. Like, have you ever thought, I need to do a class on how to present a class to people? Because I've done it where I'm like, I don't know that I'm the best teacher. I know how to do this. I know how to create this, but I don't know if I'm the best person to show it to other people.
I think I don't think I've ever wanted to teach people how to teach. I mean, I think you guys all do an excellent job, and everyone is so organized and so prepared. I know you rehearse before you get up there.
Yeah.
I've heard you talk about that. But I mean, and I've been in, I think, at least 2 times. I don't know if you've taught technology more than that, but
I have. Yeah.
Okay, so I've been in 2 presentations where you've taught technology, because that's another area where I need to grow. And yeah, I mean, you're fantastic. Everyone's been fantastic. And like you said, everyone is so willing to teach you and share and give of their time. It's amazing.
Yeah, really, it's such a unique experience when you're there to see. And I was talking with someone who lives in an area where his particular talent is a little more competitive. And he was so happy to be at CWC and see how much people were willing to share. And he said he felt more compelled to share himself because of what other people were doing. So that's so fascinating to me.
It's really cool.
So I'm curious, always curious to get the answer to this question. What is your definition of success?
To me, it's pretty simple. It's having happy clients. It's when they show up to pick up their piece, and I always have it covered up and show them, and they are smiling and excited, and there's just nothing like that. It's kind of the same as when you're teaching a kid or anyone, and the light bulb goes on. It's just like this happiness that you just can't put into words. It's so fulfilling to know that you've done your job.
Right.
And to me, that's all I could ask for.
And to anyone who has never, and I'm sure in some way, shape, or form, we've all taught something to someone, but that moment when the light bulb goes on, and it's funny because I always was told I would be a good teacher. And my response was always, I don't like other people's children enough to do that. But I vividly remember the moment when I was sitting with my nephew and my older daughter, and we had a book. I'm sure it's still in my house somewhere. And the title was I learned to read or something like that. And it was a book on how teaching kids how to read. And I still remember the moment my nephew read one of the sentences himself and the look on his face when he turned and looked at me like, you didn't read that. I did.
I did that.
And it really, like, this is 30 some years later, Devin, and I still remember how I felt at that moment. And as you said, like when you are in a classroom, and sometimes I'm the one with the aha moment. There, in the class I just taught, someone had a more updated version of their iPad and they showed me something. I was like, damn, I need a new iPad now. So I think it's that sharing that moment, whether you're the one giving it or receiving it, of, oh, I didn't know that, and now I do.
Right. Yeah. There's something about exchanging information and knowledge with each other that is, I don't know. It just feels like a soul moment, because it's something inside of you that two people like walk together and didn't know that they needed to exchange that. And when you do, it like brings you together and makes the teacher and the student feel better.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So given that is your definition of success, have you had like any one particular moment that really stands out that like you really think of as one of your biggest successes so far?
Okay, because I overcame such a challenge. Are you familiar with the Hans Wegner Papa Bear chair?
I'm not.
Okay, so it is a obviously Danish, 50s chair, I think, mid-century modern. When the gentleman who wanted it done sent me the photo, I was kind of like taken aback, like I'm not sure if I even want to attack that. Then I looked it up online, and redone chairs are selling for $20,000 to $30,000.
Oh wow!
And I was like, I texted him back and said, "Do you know exactly what you have here?" And he said, "Well, I knew it was valuable. I didn't know it was worth that much, and it's been sitting in my basement." And I said, "I don't know that you want me doing this. I haven't done this type of chair before." And he said, "I believe in you. I think you can do it." And I was,
wow.
I was overcome like a little bit. And so I sought out help on the pun, because those people are amazing on Facebook. Justin Daisy in particular, I mean, he gave me more time than anyone should ever give away for free, in walking me through this, because he's done this chair, probably many times before. I mean, he even went so far as to dig out his patterns and send me pictures of the pattern so I could reproduce it.
Wow.
I mean, and I met him at CWC. I'd never met him before, but for him to take that kind of time when he didn't even know me,
right.
But that was a huge challenge, and getting that done, I feel like, was that success moment that the client was blown away. Everyone I show a before and after picture is blown away. And it was really like validating to me that I can do this.
And that you could work on a piece that was that valuable and make it not more valuable, but usable. Yeah. If it was sitting in his basement, and I'll admit, I looked it up and Googled it while you were talking.
Okay.
That is really a cool chair. I'll put a picture of it in the show notes so that people can see what it looks like. I mean, what a sense of accomplishment you must have had.
It was really cool, because as I took it apart, there were parts of it, for instance, where the buttons were located, and the way that they had sewn their seams that are kind of like false seams in there, where they had placed the seams wasn't correct according to the pattern. Okay. And so it showed me that, like, obviously whoever did it was able to accomplish it, but they hadn't done it exactly as it should be. And I knew Justin's notes were correct. Right. And so to be able to, like, usually I'll just follow what was done previously, but I got a lot of education there too, to know what's proper and what's not. Right. And it was just, I will say, it took me probably 2 months to do that chair. I mean, it was probably wasn't profitable at the end of it, but the success was all those things, learning it, the happy client, the piece for my portfolio, it was worth it.
And the connection to someone who could help you with your education as well.
Right. Absolutely. And what's funny is that same client, before they had even seen the chair, they brought me 2 more mid-century pieces that are
Oh,
that
wow.
are here in the shop right now. I mean, they're just getting cushions. It's not that big a deal, but they said, "We believe in you. Like, look what you did here." It's like, oh man. I
Wow.
said, "Can I just do your whole house? You guys have some really cool furniture."
And so to your point though, if we aren't willing to ask questions and look for input, you could have easily looked at how it was upholstered in the first place, or reupholstered in this case, and just followed what someone else did. And it wouldn't have been wrong, but it wouldn't have been ideal.
Right.
And by opening yourself up and saying, I need help. And I'm not surprised that Justin went to that much trouble. By the time your podcast is out, I just recently interviewed the 3 new owners of Upholstery Education, and Justin Daisy is one of them.
Yes.
And that is something that I've seen in the pun group, where he is so willing to answer questions and provide information to people. And it's just one of those things, like, he wasn't going to get that chair from that particular client. So that wasn't his reason for doing it. His reason was, here's a fellow upholsterer in need of some help. And so therefore I'm going to help them, not question, well, I had to work all this out, let them do it. No, that's not the mindset. And that is just so refreshing and amazing to me.
It is. It's unfathomable, really. You know, you think in most industries, like, no, I think that's also, like, we're entrepreneurs, but in my brain, I almost don't consider this the business world, because I feel like the quote business world, you know, corporate is very cutthroat. I spent some time after college, before I went back to get my education degree, working in a corporate world. And it was very cutthroat. No one was going to share information with anyone else.
Right.
It was very, hoarded. And you know, well, if I'm succeeding with this, I don't want them to know, you know, and it's amazingly different. And I think that's another reason I like working in this industry. Is the colleagues are phenomenal. And I feel like that's part of why when we leave CWC, you know, it's like a hangover. Like, I had such a good time and now I'm really sad.
I want to be back around those people again.
Right.
The sponsors of the So Much More podcast allow me to bring guests to you each week. And without them, I couldn't do it. I'm pleased, as the owner of the Curtains and Soft Furnishings Resource Library, that I can use the library to help sponsor the podcast as well. The library hosts the industry's largest curated collection of educational resources for the custom home furnishings professional. Membership to the library gives you access to a wealth of downloadable reference materials, videos, live events, as well as a community of support to help you develop your design, sales, and fabrication skills, and to grow or start a business. Join the library today at csfrl.org. The Workroom Channel is the premier online training provider for professional fabrication skills. Go to theworkroomchannel.com to browse the selection of anytime access courses created by industry experts. Watch detailed demonstration videos, download companion materials, and participate in private course discussion boards with your instructor and classmates from around the world. Start your course path today at theworkroomchannel.com. Education, networking, visibility, and industry discounts are just a few of the benefits that are offered to members of the Window Covering Association of America. The WCAA is the only national nonprofit trade association that's dedicated to the window coverings industry and the dealers, decorators, workrooms, designers, and installers that make up our membership. The library is a gold level sponsor of the WCAA. Join today at WCAA.org. WCAA, where you are never in business alone. Discover Klimaka Studios, where innovation meets exceptional design. Klimaka fabric and wallpaper collections are inspired by the original works of collaborating artists and developed with the understanding of how fabrics are manipulated into exquisite soft home furnishings. Workroom businesses enjoy exclusive access to engineered designs and best trade pricing. From clever layouts to classic linen prints, Klamaka Studios delivers the quality and consistency that your business demands. And Klamaka's reliable, on-time delivery keeps your projects running smoothly. Go to klamakastudios.com for swatches and trade account information. Klamaka Studios, for the joy and profit of workrooms. So I'm curious, especially as a teacher, Devin, how do you handle mistakes and failures?
It's still discouraging. I don't want to say it's not, because, messing up, especially something that's worth a lot of money, is I've cried, I did have one project that I could not figure out. It's probably too complicated for as early as I took it on. I had to give it back to the client unfinished. And that's when I cried. It was too much for the time. I gave her money back. I said, I'm sorry I wasted your time. But most of the time, I try to walk away and then reassess what went wrong.
Okay.
So, what should I have done, or what did I do that I shouldn't have done? My relief cuts that I messed up yesterday, I should have done that on a scrap piece of fabric. I should have used some muslin and tried that out first.
Okay.
It wasn't that expensive of fabric, and I have plenty, so it's not that big a deal. But I always think after the fact, okay, what could have been different? What could I have changed? Was it my fault? Most of the time, So I don't think that it's like a failure if you learned something from it in the way you're going to act in the future.
Okay. I'm curious, that moment where you are giving back a project and saying, I can't do it. Something similar happened to me. I also cried. Unfortunately, it was in front of the designer. It took me quite a while to get my confidence back after that situation happened. How was that for you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it took me a while. And I think that for a while, I only took on super simple projects.
Okay.
I was like slip seats and cushions and, things that I knew I had high confidence that I could do correctly, before I took on something again that I wasn't sure. Like if that guy had come to me with the Papa Bear chair after that failure, I just would have said, no, I can't do that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have dived back into trying something.
Okay. And yet look at how that turned out for you by saying yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. We need those little reminders when we're not feeling as confident.
Yeah. Right. You're right. We do.
So as a teacher, I'm really curious. Have you read any books that have had a big impact on you, whether it's business related, upholstery related, life related, just books?
Yeah. Okay. So I like to collect upholstery books, but they're all on my mantle at home. And I like to read even old ones that have that good library smell, the old book smell.
Yes.
I don't necessarily read them, cover to cover, but I like to flip through and see especially illustrations of what they did. But I do have a couple of books. These are not career or upholstery related. In the teaching realm, I have two. One is called Yardsticks, and I don't know the author, but
I'll look it up.
Probably the only one called Yardsticks, and it's about developmental stages of students, of kids from 0 to 18. And it was really helpful in teaching, but also with my own kiddos. So I have my daughter and I have two stepkids, or bonus kids, as I try to call them. But it's all about what motivates kids at that certain stage, what's important to them, things that they're internally struggling with. It's like 2 pages on each stage, but it was, I kept referring back to it. It's one of those things that you don't just read it and you're done with it. Especially for people with younger kids, that would have been really helpful if I had it before I had my daughter, because to know what's what's expected and really to know what they're struggling with, because it
Right.
kind of shows you like their motivations when you know what's going through their head and what they have a hard time with.
I agree. I think as a parent, that was one of the things, like as my kids got older and they would share a story about something that they struggled with. And I'd be like, talk about those, "Oh, I'm a crappy mom" moments, like, oh, I didn't realize that was what you were thinking.
Yeah. Right.
And yet I know from my own life, there were so many things I felt responsible for as a kid that
Yeah.
I wish I had transferred some of that to my kids growing up and realized, oh, they think this is their fault, or they think they have control over this situation, and none of us
Right.
do.
Right, exactly. None of us do, or they can't put into words what they're thinking,
Yes. Yes.
and so to be able to know from like a research standpoint, this is what's going through their head most
Yeah.
likely, and kind of then it helps you with how to help them.
Okay.
So the other education book is called A Framework for Understanding Poverty, and it's by Ruby Payne, Payne, and it's an old book, but it is. I worked in a very rural school, and a lot of the research that she did was on urban, you know, populations that were dealing
Mhm.
with poverty, but it was interesting to me how a lot of that translated.
Okay.
Like it got me to say, poverty is poverty. It urban, rural, suburban. When you are struggling with resources,
Mhm.
you're struggling, and
Yeah.
it shows up in slightly different ways, but it really helped me to understand kids and families that I couldn't relate to, having grown up in a middle class suburban home.
Right. Right.
It gave me a lot more compassion.
Okay.
So,
That's interesting. My older daughter is a social worker and therapist,
oh,
and
okay.
some of her clients are struggling with poverty.
Mhm.
And I'm always amazed when she will take the time to try to understand them better, having been raised in a middle class house where there was always enough food.
Right.
And there was always money coming in, and maybe we didn't have multiple homes and things like that, but we had more than enough.
Yeah.
And her ability to be compassionate, and actually both my daughters, they astound me sometimes with what they are able to be empathetic about, but it would be very interesting to read about the research of this and to
Mhm.
remember that, in fact, yes, there's rural poverty, like.
Oh, yeah. Well, and I said sometimes, it's being out in the country, it's almost you're poor and you have even less access because
Yes.
you can't get on a bus and go somewhere. There is no
Right.
bus.
Right.
I mean,
And there's nowhere to go to that's even a bus ride away.
right,
Yeah.
right. So,
Yeah.
I mean, just different things like that. I don't know. I like to learn. I feel like it's made me more aware of the world, and not that I understand everything by any means, but just a little more understanding of what people are going through.
Okay. And
Um,
opening our minds to those things is important.
yeah. And then there's one more book. Sorry, I'm giving you a
No.
bibliography here. It's called Organization is a Learnable Skill. And Lisa Woodruff is the author of that. She is a professional organizer. She's a motivational speaker, I should say. And I've learned a ton from her because I am not the best organized person.
Okay.
And she actually is a former teacher too. But now she runs a company. She's an entrepreneur.
Okay.
And it goes through kind of her story. It's a memoir, but it also helps teach you. I use her whole system now for organizing files here in the shop,
Okay.
and it keeps me on track. And so the book is good, her system is good, but especially just reading that, I saw a lot of myself in her story. I think a lot of
Okay.
women would.
All right. You had sent me a link to her website, which I'll include in the show notes. And I have to say, behind you, I'm looking at two giant whiteboards. One is a calendar, and I'm like, that looks so well organized. And I'm
Well,
well, listen, it's a little blurry, so let's just say it's very well organized.
Okay,
And
we'll
leave
go
it
with
at
that.
that, Devin. But I'm thinking, especially for someone who has struggled with some executive function through no fault of your own, that this is something you have to deal with, that the more organized you are, the less likely something is to fall between the cracks because of what you're struggling with.
Yeah. And it gives me confidence to know that, because I have dropped things through the cracks. A quick story: when I was much earlier in my diagnosis, or in the process, I was diagnosed. My daughter was maybe in second or third grade, and it was the day that I had off of school, but she did not. I was supposed to pick her up from school to take her to a doctor's appointment. Because I was so fatigued from teaching, I fell asleep. I laid down, I'll take a nap. I fell asleep. The school was calling me because not only did I miss picking her up early for the doctor's appointment, the buses had already left and I wasn't there. And she's in the office crying. The office staff is staying after school to take care of her. As a mom, it makes me want to cry now. And she's a senior in high school now.
I want to cry for you right now.
You can feel it in your gut.
Yes, I can.
By the time I showed up at school to get her, by the time they woke me up, and I got there, I was in tears too. I mean, it was just the school nurses hugging me and reassuring me, she's safe, she's fine. And I'm sure Macy remembers that, because it was impactful on all of us. And it was something that fell through the cracks because aside from the organizing part, there was the exhaustion and fatigue. It was so many pieces, but having, the calendar, my project board, as many places as I can see what's going on. And it's funny because having you teach the technology class, I would love to have a digital calendar and have everything digital, but I know I need my paper calendar.
Yep, I get that.
Because of my brain, I need to write it down because that does something for me. And I need to look at it every morning and see what's going on, because that's what my brain needs.
Right.
But yeah, all those tools help. And especially when you have executive functioning, which is people with ADHD, there's so many different, I don't know what the word is, conditions that cause you to struggle.
Right.
I think it's awesome that people can remember, everything. But it's just not me. I'll never be that person. So I put the tools in place to support me.
Right. And I think that mindset is what makes all the difference too, is, okay, that's not a skill I possess, or that's not something that my brain will allow me to do because I have this chronic illness. So what can I put in place to help me and feel bad about one less thing? I mean, that's just, yeah. All right. So I am curious, especially since you took my Apple class and you're saying that you need some things analog. Do you use much technology in your business?
Not as much as I wish I used.
Okay.
I obviously, my phone, I take more before and after pictures and process pictures because I need to remember exactly how it went together. Because as much as everything's the same, everything's different, and so I want to remember exactly, all the things. So that's why I feel like the pictures are helpful. I used to use QuickBooks. Now I write everything down, and I'm actually in the process of getting a bookkeeper to help me. And she wants she's going to clean it all up for me and help me put in the few things I need to do. She's mainly going to run it, but I can do the little parts. I told her, I'm just not comfortable taking much on with that because I don't want to mess it up again.
Right. That's an issue for me. I don't want to mess it up.
Right. So no, not as much technology as I would like, but the pun, problem is then it gets me on Facebook and then I start going down that rabbit hole. But yeah, no, for technology, the pun's super helpful.
Okay. So you've incorporated some technology, but what we do is with our hands.
Yes.
So that's, that makes me ask the next one. What 3 business items could you not live without in your business?
Okay. Let's see. That's funny because obviously my upholstery tools, forms. So I have made myself forms because it keeps me, again, back to the brain, it keeps me on track with all the questions I need to ask a client. as far as, obviously what fabric we're using and how many yards we need and those kind of things, but all the, trims and decorative nails and this and that. Additionally, so forms, upholstery tools, and I have a financial binder that I keep all my financial stuff in. And that is like in the analog writing it out version, but it keeps it somewhere.
I was going to say, but you have it and it's available to you. So that's like step number one in getting it together as a business. So good for you.
Yeah. Thanks.
Devin, as we develop these skills and these passions that we have into a business, a lot of us lose the time to do things just for fun. Do you do any projects for yourself anymore?
I wish I could say that I do. Here's how far I've gotten. I have a set of chairs in here that I've torn down.
Okay.
They're torn down. One of them sanded. And then I have a love seat that I've torn down. So I had the intention, but I'm too busy to spend my time doing that. So it's kind of, I know I can one day, but no, I mean, I would like to say that I do, and I like to help other people, but I don't really get anything accomplished for myself.
That's not an uncommon answer.
Yeah.
What is your favorite thing to do in your workroom? What is there a particular kind of product or a part of the process that you really love?
I like making cushions. I know some people think that's monotonous, but I like that because it's like a predictable routine, as long as, it's not 100 of them. But I mean, patio cushions, especially, something about that like new season of like, we're fixing it up for the spring and look how pretty the patio looks with the new cushions. I don't know. It's just, it brings me joy to like take them to the client's house and put them on the furniture and like, it's a fun thing for me.
Okay. Devin, what do you do extremely well?
I feel like relationship building. I enjoy talking to the clients and kind of, creating that goodwill, like, so they know I'm taking care of their things.
Right.
And just, it gets them kind of positive and like excited about what's going to come. I'm good at communicating, in that first meeting, but also sending them progress pictures. And if it's a family heirloom, I like to see if they want to write a note to put inside.
Oh, I love that.
For whoever might get it next, like about who had it and who had it before them. Because it feels like, we lose that information, a lot of family information within like 2-3 generations. We don't know the stories anymore.
Right.
So that's something I like to do with them as well.
Okay. I love that. What do you not do so well?
Math. Anything math. I mean, I'm sitting at my desk. I have my calculator here. I have another calculator over by the work table, like, so that I don't even have to walk very far because I don't trust myself with the numbers. My husband is an actuary, so he does math. Like that's everything.
Yep.
And so if he's here, he can work from wherever. He's got his laptop, and he usually will come in the workroom like some part of the day and sit at my desk and work, which is awesome. But I can just shout out to him, what's this % of this? And he can just tell me. And that blows my mind.
Yeah, not a skill I possess.
No, maybe I can figure out like 10% in my mind because that's moved the decimal. But no, math is just not. I feel like I need to do the problem and do it again just to be sure.
Okay, just to make sure.
Yeah.
What about you would surprise people?
Okay, so in addition to the MS, I've got more acronyms. So I have a thing called Complex Regional Pain Syndrome, CRPS, and I call it CRAPS because it feels like crap. And it's not common. It's another nerve I would say neurological, but it's an issue with nerves communicating to the brain. So for instance, in the summer of 22, I stubbed my toe. Okay, I stubbed my toe, big deal. I wound up not able to touch my foot for a month.
Oh.
Like there was nothing wrong with my foot. There was nothing broken. at all, nothing wrong, right? I couldn't touch it. Wind couldn't blow on it. I couldn't walk because my foot swelled up. And it's all a miscommunication between nerves and the brain.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like your foot or whatever extremity reacts as though you're hurt, as though you're seriously hurt,
Right.
but
And
nothing's wrong.
that's why it was inflamed and swollen,
Mhm.
because that's what your body does to protect itself.
Right. And so,
Oh,
I mean, it was awful. I was on the couch for a month as my mom would drive me to different doctor's appointments. I even had an orthopedic say, like, he wanted to like wrap it up. I was like, you can't touch it. He touched it and I screamed. It was awful. So there's different like pain scales online. And according to the CRPS like foundation, this pain is just below getting a limb amputated with no anesthesia or anesthesia. What's that word?
anesthesia. Yeah.
Anesthesia. Thanks.
Or no,
Like,
anesthetic. Nothing to dull the pain. Oh God, that's awful.
Yeah, it's just below that, and it's just worse than giving birth without any, again, anesthetic. So like, yeah, like that kind of pain. Like I can't even explain to you how bad it was. They ended up, my family doctor, because I had been back to him 3 times in that month, he ended up saying, okay, we're just admitting you to the hospital. Like I'm going to do a direct admit. He put me in. I was in the hospital for 5 days and they couldn't figure out what was wrong because it's not common. So they weren't even thinking of this. They ended up giving me bags of steroids to bring down that inflammation. And I was used to getting bags of steroids from the MS because that's how they treat it too. Doing the MRI, doing all the things. I luckily, I'll say ran into, but there was a doctor in the MRI room when I went in. She was an orthopedic who happened to know about this, even though this is a nerve problem.
Okay.
They were trying to like put the boot or whatever they do on you to go in the MRI machine. And I, again, told him, you can't touch it. You can't do that. And so she started talking with me about it. And she was the one who said, there's this thing. And she described it. And that's ended up being what it is. But it's one of those things they only diagnose through ruling everything else out.
Yeah, unfortunately, there are a lot of things that are only diagnosed that way. And that's really challenging, I'm sure, for the doctors, but mostly for the patient.
Oh, yeah. So lots of steroids brought down my foot. I mean, I say my foot looked like a football. It was so swollen that like liquid was coming out of my skin.
And that literally was from stubbing your toe.
Stubbing my toe.
Wow.
I mean, it made me feel ridiculous because I was like, I stubbed my toe. Like, I mean, if my foot wasn't that swollen, people probably would have thought I was making it up. So anyway, the doing all the steroids, I went to physical therapy, which the beginning of physical therapy was literally just them trying to desensitize it, like running a towel over it, like doing until I got to the point where I could do exercises, until I got to the point that I could finally walk. Like, it was awful.
Is there any connection of, and CRAPS is really a good acronym for it. I know that may not have been their intention, but I get that. Is there any connection to the MS?
I asked my neurologist that because I thought this is too weird. And I had gone to see her too with this, and she knew how bad it was. And she said, okay, scientifically, she looked it up. She's like, scientifically, no. But she goes, I don't know how it's not.
That's what I was thinking with my limited medical knowledge.
Yeah, she said, there's no research to support it, but she said, I don't know how it's not related. It has to be somehow.
Okay.
So that's, so that would surprise people. Like I still have pain in my foot. It's probably never going to go away. But it's nothing like that was before. I mean, I know that I wear certain shoes, I will never again wear high heels, like that kind of thing.
Do you have to be extra cautious in like tearing down furniture so that you don't injure yourself?
I'm very careful, especially about my foot. Like there are certain ways, if I step backwards, a big pain shoots through my foot. So I'm very cautious. And it also can apparently flare up in other parts of your body. So that's what I have to be really careful with, because if I were to get this in my hands, I mean, it would be like career over. Because it's just so impacting. But yeah, I mean, I'm careful. It's more like how much I'm on my feet that I'm really cautious of, and making sure I wear really supportive shoes.
Okay. Devin, what do you love best about this business?
Um, I love like the before and after, but I love the people more.
Okay.
It's just, yeah, clients are awesome, but like you guys are better. Like it's an amazing group of people to work with. It'd be really cool if we could all be like working in the same building.
Oh,
How
wouldn't it
fun would that be?
though?
That would be awesome.
One gigantic office building where we all had our own spaces and we could get together for
Yes.
break and lunch. I love that.
That'd be so fun.
What do you love least about it?
Um, hmm. I would say just the business part. I mean, that's obviously why we do it, is to make money, and you have to do that's a necessary evil. But I'd be happy if someone did all the business part for me and I could just do the work.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's fine, but I don't like that.
It's fine. We know when women say that word, they don't mean it.
Right.
So I'm curious, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Okay, so she doesn't know this yet, but I want to have a workroom with my sister. I
Okay.
think that would be so cool to be in the same space. We don't really do each other's business, so it wouldn't be a competition, but I
Mhm.
think it would be fantastic to have. We each have our own business, so it wouldn't be like, melding those together, but
Right.
just to be able to like be together in and out through the day, I think would be so cool. And
Okay.
and I mentioned it to her actually on the way back from CWC. Like, do you want? She still works out of her basement. They have a huge, amazing basement, but her kids are younger, and it's just easier to be at home, which
Yeah.
totally I understand that. But in 5 years, her youngest will be like in high school, and the other ones are out. So maybe.
Yeah.
So Audrey, whenever you hear this, think on it.
All right. I'm marking my calendar now to check in on the two of you. So I know you sent me a couple links. What social media platforms are you on, Devin, that I can send people to?
Yeah. So my website, and I'll caveat that my website needs a lot of work, but I do have one. It's redeemedrelic.com. And both my Facebook and Instagram are redeemed.relic.upholstery.
Okay. And I'll put links to them in the show notes so people don't have to remember them.
Okay.
All right. Devin, this has been so much fun for me. Thank you. So
It has been.
Good. It's time to ask the final question. And that is, what advice would you give to someone who's new in this business or someone who's been around for a while, or both?
Especially, I feel like because I'm more on the new end, I would just tell people to reach out to others, sooner than later, because people are helpful. And if they're not, it's just good to make connections and shake someone's hand and let them know who you are and know who they are. Because you can refer business to them. There's so many reasons that it's a positive thing to do, to make connections. And that's something I found in our community lately, is just, go to the schools. We had a local, high school had a business breakfast. I didn't meet any other upholsterers, but I met lots of community members who have businesses. And it's good to put a face with that sign that you drive by every day and know who those business people are. So I would just say to get in the community and meet other people as a business person.
Okay.
And I don't really feel like I have any advice for anybody who's been in it for a while.
I think that's good advice for everybody.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Devin, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. It's been a lot of fun.
Oh, good. I'm so glad. I really hope that you enjoyed hearing from Devin today. I'm always amazed by how many of us have had big challenges to overcome in running our businesses. And on days when getting the right fabric or getting supplies or getting help in our workrooms feels like it's overwhelming, adding on to that a chronic illness feels like it could be overwhelming. And I really admire that Devin has just been resilient enough to keep on going. And as I often say, just because we keep on going doesn't mean everyone does. And I really admire that in so many of us, but especially in what challenges Devin has overcome. I really hope that you enjoyed hearing from her today. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a great day.